students don't come to us as a completely blank page. They're always bringing something with them when they begin a unit or a course. And this is particularly obvious, I think, when we start teaching with postgraduate students. It's particularly noticeable that they're coming in with expertise which may be greater than their teachers in certain areas. It may be greater than the other students in the cohort. And that's a great resource in itself to be able to use. So, for example, when people choose to study, say, an MBA online, one of the main reasons for doing an MBA, apart from the qualification itself, is the network of people you meet when you are doing the MBA. So when trying to sort of make the most of that kind of network in an online forum, you need to think about how you can manage and draw on the expertise of the people in the room as they are. So in some cases, that's when you do want to encourage people to bring their own experience into that forum, into the classroom, and share the experience with their classmates, with their peers. That's where the learning is going to happen, and that's really authentic learning, because that's what's going on usually in their workplaces. These are people coming in with experience, with different experiences, and a whole room of different experiences from different roles, all sorts of things. So using that in an online environment is equally as important as in a face-to-face environment.
I agree, and I think the online environment provides you with sort of some tools that you can use to help smoothen that out. I think we've all been in classes at some stage that were derailed by someone with amazing, slightly relevant life experience that they wanted to contribute in a huge way. And it can drive us away from the learning outcomes that we were trying to achieve. And online can give you that little bit of structure, a few tools. You can set some tasks that are fairly specific for people to work through. And the discussion board, if someone does post that crazy, ranty life experience thing, you can not read that, or you can try and tailor it down a little bit.
And there can be rules. I mean, you can set up rules at the start. You do your posts on these particular questions, for example. And if they're becoming, if they're going off on a tangent, then there's ways to draw those things back to the core questions that you want to ask. And a forum moderator can use those tools in a forum to do that, to sort of promote threads. In fact, in an online forum, the participants can control what goes on and what gets promoted as well. If people find, one answer is way off the track, then they don't need to sort of thumbs up or vote for that answer. It's going to be something that in using online tools, you can keep the best answers at the top of the forum, and then the ones that are less useful can float down.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Oh, I mean, your Reddit style upvote system or something.
Promote.
Yeah. But I mean, a really interesting thing in the research is going back to even the 90s. We've had these findings around normative pressure being less in an online environment. So the slightly dominating person in the classroom just has less ability to dominate in the online class.
And there's people who might have thrived in an online environment in that way, or perhaps, dominated in that way, whereas people who may not have spoken up in a face-to-face environment may find their voice in an online environment. And that's, people who are less confident of their language ability, for example, or their spoken language, but more confident in their written language. And we see that often in face-to-face teaching. There's people who, perhaps don't participate, and that's, we need to get them to encourage them to participate more. But in an online environment, that may be a much more natural way for them to communicate. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to be sort of putting yourself out there in the same way. In an online environment, it can be easier to speak up.
Mm.